Welcome to the Sunday Funday Podcast, where we talk about anything that men feel like we want to talk about because we are men. And today we've got Dr. Robert, we've got myself, the host, Akil Patterson, and we got Mark, the instigator, Togni. We're missing the juice and the OG. They've decided to do other things because guess what? Well, they're men too. So let's get to it here on the Sunday Funday Podcast. All right. So, Mark, you had a weekend with the boys and the family. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, it was great. So my dad died about 5 or 6 years ago, and every year around this time, we organize a little luncheon somewhere, and we all get together and support the family. See mom, because of course, I think as you get older and you're by yourself, post 80 years old, like the only things that you go out of the house for are typically family activities. And if you're not the one
And voting,
if you're not scheduling them, then you're not going out a lot. So it was good to see everybody, and it was enjoyable. And I'm 3 weeks into no ETOH. Oh, so that was one of my first social events with no alcohol. ETOH, ethanol.
Oh,
just dropping all kinds of knowledge.
I have no idea. I was like, okay, that's like when they did the over the pants hand job, OPHJ,
OPHB hand J,
over the pants hand. When they told me that, I was like, I had no idea that was an acronym people used. So now I'm learning that this is an acronym used for people who are trying to stop drinking.
No, I just decided to use the word ETOH instead of alcohol.
Oh.
Because, it's there. Same, because you know why I did it? Because the doctor's here. That's why I did it. I was trying to seem more a little scientific. But the long story short of it is, Akil, that it was good. I ordered a Coca-Cola. I didn't have any problem with it. So it was a first social family event where I wasn't drinking.
I thought you were a month in. I don't know. I'm glad.
No, you're right. March 17th.
I think you're almost a month in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
St. Patrick's Day. You picked a good one. Yeah.
I know. I was weird. It was a weird.
No green beer.
Nothing. And I would normally be all over the beer. Yeah. It's been an interesting ride.
I have to say this. Beer was always the devil for me. I could consume as much as I wanted, but it would always come out just horribly wrong. Like just beer, like everywhere, like.
No, I'm the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just could never handle beer. I mean, I could drink tons of it. Like one time, do you know about what they call diet beer?
No.
Okay.
You mean that's what to drink in the South?
No, the Midwest, where they like in Utah, where you have that like that 0.05 beer.
What?
Yes,
yeah, it's like
true.
It's like this. It's like it's the Mormon beer. Effectively, it's like you could buy it at a gas station. You could drink a whole 30 rack, and all you do is just pee it out in 20 minutes.
And gain about 6 pounds.
Yeah, it's horrible, but people buy it because it's some sort of alcohol out there. When I lived in not rural Utah. I was in rural Colorado, but it was right next door to rural Utah, in the Four Corners in Mesa Verde, which means green something. Anyway, I'd live out there.
It means Green Mesa.
Okay, there you go. Green Mesa.
That's why we have him.
Hey, a lot of smart people went to school for a lot of years to say that.
That was awesome.
So yeah, it means Green Mesa.
Green Mesa, of course.
I said it meant green something. That's all I knew. And when I was in that area, beer was just everybody drank it. But it was all like, I guess some people call it near beer as well.
That's what we would call out here.
Yeah, near beer. So.
And they also in Utah, a lot of bars elect to serve blended liquor. So it's not 80 proof. Oh. You might be drinking vodka, but it might be like 30 proof vodka. So kind of the same lines.
Yeah, because they're going to try to keep you as morally upright as possible, or at least walking upright.
Got it.
Either way, so Good for you.
Yep, it was good.
Good for you. Good for you getting to the month. Now, Dr. Robert, tell us a little about yourself, because what I have is a cluster of stories that kind of got sent through a text message, and I was telling my partner, and our producer over here, hey, this guy got ran over by Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
And he goes, what? And I literally said, like, yo, just look at this. And I showed it to him, and he goes, oh, wow. Well, this is interesting. So just tell us a little bit about your background.
Do we open with that? Do we open with Clint Eastwood?
I think I want to hear that story at some point.
All right.
But I want to kind of get to know you a little bit and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I don't know. Just the generic stuff is I knew from age 6 I wanted to be a doc, and ended up going to school at U of O, went to OHSU, did some training in a number of different places, and ended up becoming what's called an interventional radiologist, which means we use, quote, minimally invasive. They're minimally invasive except for the patient, of course. Procedures to use X-rays and MRI and ultrasound to guide tricky procedures. So that's me as a professional.
Okay. I mean, that's doctor stuff. So if you're interested in becoming a doctor, look it up.
Yeah. There you go. My personal life, I'm someone who likes to get out there, see things, do things, get as much of an experience about life, people in the world as I can. Generic discussion hobbies. I like photography. I like fly fishing. I like going to the most obscure place I can find in the state of Oregon.
Okay. Now, are you a world traveler too?
I've done some world traveling.
Okay, right on. You know what I always found out was so I used to be the lobbyist. I don't know if you knew this. I used to be the lobbyist for the Maryland State Medical Society, and so I dealt with physicians. Mm-hmm. And what I always found interesting about dealing with physicians is that, number one, there are different. There seems to be different attitudes that go different doctors. So, like, oncologists are some of the weirdest.
And super serious.
Yeah. Oncologists are just like, but they're also like eccentric to the point where you're like, why would you buy 4 boats? Like, I asked that oncologist once, I'm like, hey man, you have 4 boats. Why? And he goes, well, my wife likes to go out on the boat too. I was like, so do you hate her that much that you had to get like you had to get like different boats? He had 4 similar high speed speedboats. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, why 4? And he's like, well, she wanted to go out and I didn't want her on mine. I'm like, oh my God, you hate her? So you spent a $250,000?
Well, I mean, she lives with an oncologist. So
she's like, let's go ahead and get this boat.
Well, there's truth to what you say. I could say some things that people might not like. Orthopedists are always kind of viewed as sort of, caveman, me, bone broke, me fixed.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, they're like, hey, you need surgery. And you're like, okay. So that's normal, because literally that's how they're going to make most of their money.
And, plastic surgeons tend to be kind of like slick salesmen and
like the used car salesman of
I don't know about used car salesman. I think it's more like, Audi or Porsche salesman.
Ooh. Oh, so like I'm driving around in a Honda and they're like, hey, you could use a Porsche.
Yeah.
Little nose upgrade.
Right.
Well, also they are the wealthiest of all the physicians, because their procedures, that's in the book, because their procedures are not covered by insurance. Most of their procedures are out of pocket.
Okay. But
the way that was explained to me is that if you're a pediatrician, you're at the bottom, that's the bottom of the doctor barrel, and if you're the plastic surgeon, as far as pay grade, that's the top.
Yeah, an ophthalmologist too up there.
Ophthalmologist.
I don't know, aren't
don't those
OBGYNs
guys
up there
have
too?
A high suicide rate? Don't ophthalmologists have a high suicide rate?
I'm not familiar with that. I would think they don't because
I thought the eye was like it was because it's their sight. They're like so stressed out about working on the eye. Yeah, look it up. We could have some.
I don't know. I mean,
not optometrists, ophthalmologists. Optometrist just fits you for glasses. Ophthalmologist is the one that says, "Hey, you got cataracts."
the optometrist tells you that too.
they can, sure.
Yeah,
But they're not a
they
doc-
send you to a specialist.
But they're not a doctor.
Optometrists are doctors.
I couldn't tell you if it's doctor of optometry
Yeah.
or
Are they?
lord of optometry or
Okay.
Yeah, they're doctors.
Ophthalmologist is the more legit of the two, though.
I think that's the one.
ophthalmologists treat much more complicated stuff.
Yeah, they're the specialist.
Okay,
That's what I
okay.
meant. They're the specialists.
Okay.
Right. And in medicine, any specialty that is procedure oriented
they're
tends
caked
to
up.
be more highly compensated.
Okay.
Caked up.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, yeah, because
So
one of
you
the
knew
kids.
since 6 that you wanted to be a doctor. So let me ask you a question. Throughout your growth as a kid, were you like the kind of guy that if you saw a dead bird or a frog, you'd have no problem dissecting it?
Oh, I mean,
Or were
off
you
and
that
on.
into it?
I mean, sometimes I would be curious and look at the bird, and sometimes I'd pick up the squirrel and throw it at my friend, And so
Okay.
I did that too.
kids are kids.
I was so like not touching any of that stuff.
No. I would grab, like, if I saw a dead something on the side of the road and we were walking by it, I'd throw it at somebody.
I would tell my brother when we were little that the poop that was dried was dead and it was totally fine for him to pick it up. And he'd be out there in the backyard with handfuls of dog shit. Dude. Like there was value to it.
You're disgusting.
That's true story.
You're just a disgusting human for
True
doing that to
story.
that child.
True story.
If I was your brother and I heard that, I'd come back and beat the living snot out of
He's
you.
fine, dude. He's not concerned about me at all.
I mean, but I'd come back and beat you with an inch. of your life.
lunch at the country club. Yeah. He's
maybe
doing fine.
he snuck something into your.
know.
In about 2 hours, I'm
Caesar
going to have a
salad.
brain aneurysm.
These are shards of glass have been going into your meal for decades.
What
and
do
you
they
just
call
don't know
that?
it.
The Jamie Foxx?
Too soon.
I don't know,
soon.
dude. I don't know.
Anyway, Dr.
I don't know, did he? I don't know, did he?
Too soon.
I don't know, did he?
Too soon. Too soon.
Are you aware of any of this going on? Puff Daddy potentially
I know who
trying to
Fox
poison
is.
Jamie Foxx.
Oh no!
That's why he got the stroke.
Too soon. Too soon.
Anyways,
So, all right. So, your background is in the medical field, but your passions have taken you to places where, okay, tell me about this incident where you were in the same space as Clint Eastwood, and what would cause him to run over your foot?
Well, I was at the Sausalito Arts Festival a number of years ago, which occurs over Labor Day weekend.
when you say a number, are we talking more than 5?
More than 5.
Okay.
Like 20 years ago, whatever. I mean,
So he was
Clint looked
he was
about
still
the same then as
but
he
was
does
coherent.
now.
But he was coherent though. Like,
He wasn't talking to a chair.
Yeah,
though, right?
he wasn't talking to like quiet chairs over in the
Well,
corner.
I couldn't tell you, but
20 years ago.
Carlos Santana's brother was playing on stage, and people were digging that. And then Carlos popped in.
Oh, wow.
And people were really digging that. And I was kind of off to one side, and all of a sudden there was like this thump on my foot. It's like, fuck, what is that? And I look over, and Clint was coming to get on the stage with his sax. He just looked at me and glared, and then just like, and then kept going.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It hurt. I mean, it hurt a little bit. It wasn't too bad.
What a dick.
Are you
He
kidding?
he grunted at you like you were in the way.
Well, that's a real man.
Well, I'm a commoner, so.
Yeah, that's a real man. He's
got
like,
it, got it.
what are you doing in the way
Right.
of my golf cart?
Says the guy who works in the world of make believe. Okay.
So anyway,
I'd have Clint
yeah,
for
that was
fucking lunch.
I mean, we didn't really exchange anything other than stares, but
I don't like that.
Hold on. You didn't see even 20 years ago. I would have been. I'd have been like, as soon as I turned around and saw him, I would have like went down. My Achilles would have been hurting for months. I would have faked a back injury. Oh yeah. That's
It's interesting to see like how the different levels would have taken it, like what each person like. Robert was like, okay, I'm a commoner, and he just kind of like faded back in the
well, I
distance.
mean, it's like
you were willing to get like you were willing to take a Mika to fucking a lawsuit with a Mika over this, right?
yeah.
to me, he was just one more dickhead, and I don't, lifetime of meeting dickheads, you don't want to, he's just one more.
That would have shattered me.
Like I said, my foot is already in such pain.
You got over it and moved on. He's collecting a check in the scenario that he plays out, and I'm like, for 2 years I'm unemployed. Because I'm like, I can't believe Clint didn't care for me. I can't believe that he looked at me as... I'm serious. I'd be like a commoner. Like that would have been a signatory of that I'm a common person right there.
You have been emotionally damaged from this?
I'm just telling you, if you were asking me how the character played out if I was put in your...
I like Akil's approach. I mean, leap into the golf cart.
Yeah. Yeah, that does that sound more reasonable? Like,
No, I'm not denying what his...
But you get all savvy going, he didn't think about me as a human.
I'm just being honest.
So?
It sucks for me. My shoulders are down. He's playing his saxophone solo, and I'm still going like I'm nobody. And as I just slowly, camera just kind of blackens me out.
I'm dialing my attorney.
I know. We know that.
I'm looking for this guy. Are you a doctor? Are you a orthopedic surgeon?
Yeah.
Can you tell me if he hurt me?
Robert's already been deposed in your scenario. We know that.
Yeah, that foot. I don't know.
We can't find Mark. He's still crying. We try to subpoena him.
I'm trying to find a podiatrist that will prove that he damaged my foot irreparably.
Right. And maybe an optometrist. Eyesight, right?
No, because
I don't think you'd have a lot of trouble with that. But.
Yeah, exactly. See, doctors are like,
smart.
Sure, it could, that could be it.
Yeah, no.
I mean, you just give them the most. They were like, well, okay, that sounds reasonable. Like that's why when you go to a physician, isn't that why most physicians they'll ask you to give you all of your symptoms? They'll say, how do you feel? Tell me how your pain is.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like me, you don't ask them about their pets and where their grandmother went for, holiday.
No.
You focus very, if somebody comes in with a blocked kidney, you're checking them for infection, you're checking them for pain level and so forth and so on. So I'm not going to ask them about every single thing.
Yeah,
that's the way most physicians are. I mean, an orthopedist is not going to ask you about your diabetes history.
Because it doesn't have to do with your bones.
It's
right?
Just one more thing that confuses them.
Yeah. Because they're trying to get to an answer. Like they're really, that's why it's called, from what I always was told, it's a science. There is a method to the madness. It is a science, but it is a practice of a science.
They're practicing it. It's practicing, dude. They're not out there winning the game. They're practicing.
Well, they have standards and reasonable reasons to figure things out.
They are, but the issue is they talk about it as a science and an art. And what the art means is human beings, like any animal, are extremely complex. You can give two people who are physiologically fairly similar a drug, and one of them will do fine and one of them will have a major issue. So that's kind of where the art of medicine comes in, because we really don't know everything. You have to make educated guesses based on less tangible things. Mm-hmm. So,
it's like robbing a bank.
Oh, really?
Well, what you just said.
You're gonna explain. You heard him say it. Really?
You have to make tangible decisions out of intangible things, like things you don't know. So you have to make like that's, if we don't know what's inside the vault or the bank when we go in. Obviously I've got something else in my mind.
I know, definitely, clearly, you're like.
Sorry, bro. Sorry, Robert.
All right. So I was thinking more about random intangible things, like how you found yourself in the middle of a woods with a mama bear. Again, random things
that
happened to Robert. Random things that happened to Robert.
Yeah, it's almost like, I keep telling you, like when you meet people that have lived experiences, most of the time they'll be like, yeah, some crazy shit happened to me. Let me just tell you about this crazy shit. So how did you find yourself in between a mama bear and its cub?
Yeah, I mean, Mark asked me to give sort of like random interesting factoids. I was rafting down a somewhat obscure river in Canada.
Okay, what's the name of this river?
It's called the Clore.
Okay.
You never find it, but
I don't know, but so one of my buddies, he lives in Alberta, so he might have heard about this shit.
Yeah, that's a long ways from Alberta. Anyway, I saw this spot and it looked like a terrific place to get out and fish. It's like, oh yeah, this is money. And I got up and I dragged my raft on the shore.
By your, I just want to make sure I got one thing correct here.
Okay.
And you're by yourself, right?
Yeah. By myself.
Whoa, hold on.
Dude, you're fucking
Are
crazy.
you insane?
That's so stupid.
Like, isn't this how the guy
how
from
you
Into
do
the
it?
Wild
Is that kinda
died?
how you
Like,
roll,
it's
though?
like,
I feel like that's how you roll almost everywhere. Is like you're kind of like a lone dude.
Well, sometimes, yeah. I mean, there were 2 or 3 of us, and we all had our individual rafts, and we're kind of like hopscotching each other down the river. And so I get on this run, and it's just like I was so excited. It's like, ooh, this looks great. And then as I pull the raft up, out of the woods to my right, 2 cubs come bumbling out of the woods, about 30, 40 yards away. And I'm thinking like, oh, shit, there's a cub, there's a mama.
yeah, get back in the
And
raft.
so then I hear a noise. I look upstream, and about 30 yards away, there's mama.
Oh, she's upstream from you.
Yeah, and so I was in between her and the babes.
How deep is the water?
It didn't matter. I got out quick enough that...
Yeah. Like, yeah.
I mean, I got back in my raft like...
And you did the smart thing.
Yeah, I just got the hell away.
Yeah, get the away from him. Like, there's no reason to sit there.
It's just like, boy, I really wanted to come here. So there was kind of a moment, but no, I guess not today.
It was a good fishing spot, obviously. I mean, that's why she was there. That's why you're probably...
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
That's probably what it was. It's like, she's like, no, this is great, but for you to sit there and test your luck, because that's the thing. What I would notice is there's a lot of people in this world that would sit there and be like, well, I'm going to test my luck until she gets closer.
I don't
Yeah, but
know.
those are those guys you read about going, what was wrong with you? The mama bear was less than 40 yards. She can cover that in less than 5 seconds.
Right. I mean, there's some people who are, think they're a bear whisperer or
So stupid.
or a hedgehog whisperer or whatever. And, they can reason with the bear.
Oh my God. So dumb.
I can reason with the bear
Is that
this way.
Timothy Treadwell? Is that who he is?
Yeah.
Hey, Sparky. Hell, you're such a good bear. I love to love you. I'm going to give
Well,
you love.
I watched the special.
He ended
on
up in the
that.
stomach of a goddamn bear.
I watched the special on that, and he was actually, for a couple weeks before, he was really worried about this one bear.
Yeah.
Because it was an older male who, was missing teeth, and the claws were not what they used to be. And those are the ones you get trouble from, because like all of a sudden they go, oh, that human looks soft and so, soft on the outside, crunchy on the end. This could be a...
Is there like, what's the rule about black bear versus brown bear?
One you're supposed to run from, the other one you're supposed to stand your ground.
Well, from and both of them, what you do if you see them, you try to like raise your arms and scream and make yourself look bigger than you are, and that sort of thing. Okay. Black bears will charge, and a lot of time, grizzlies will charge, and if you play dead, sometimes they're charging because they perceive a threat. They're not used charging to eat. A lot of faith. But if a black bear comes, it's like run, fight back, because they're all business.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just remember. So I saw Cocaine Bear finally.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I brought that up. God have mercy on whoever greenlit that movie. God, it was, woo.
That bad?
Ugh.
You didn't have to do much, I think, after COVID, bro.
There was, oh man, Ray Liotta must have been, he was struggling to survive in that movie.
He died like a few months after that, dude. He was barely alive. They didn't, he looked so dead in that last scene where he was outside up against the rock and the lightning and water was coming. You're like going, oh my God, this motherfucker's last. I'm sorry. Yeah, Robert's going to run right out and down and watch that tonight.
Well, I mean, it's free on Peacock.
You know what? You'd be better off watching the McGregor documentary on Netflix.
The what?
Conor McGregor.
Oh, really? Okay.
He sold his. I'm not going to ruin the last part of it, which was what they put this up at the very end. As he's getting on this jet with his beautiful little family, he sold his stake in Connor 12, the whiskey, the Irish whiskey that he put his label on, his name on, for $600 million.
Well,
That's how they ended the documentary, just so that everybody knew, Connor still wants to come back and fight, and he don't ever have to fight ever in his life. But he
isn't he like a man bear pig though?
I think he is.
After watching that documentary, I think
He's mentally unstable like everyone else.
I don't think he's mentally unstable.
Absolutely.
I think he's the.
You've been hit in the head that many times.
Yeah.
That puts you in select company.
Yeah. He's mentally unstable.
I think that after I watched it, I think you got to watch it and then then come back with the same opinion.
No, he's still mentally unstable. I mean, he might be a phenomenal businessman. Elon Musk is a phenomenal businessman, mentally unstable in my opinion.
Yeah, well,
we're all mentally unstable to a certain degree then.
Okay.
Well, when you're on an Asperger's spectrum like Elon, you can expect crazy stuff.
Okay, so real quick, when you're in Asperger's world, is it like one of the things where you can glom onto one thing and you will just isolate on one thing and you can't get past that one?
It's called the spectrum, and some people
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that could be in the spectrum.
Yeah. I'm on the spectrum. I know that, but it's okay.
But what do you think? What part of the spectrum are you on?
Super high functioning, but it's not like I don't become fixated. Like my mind is racing constantly. Like in a scenario where, hey, from the time that I realized that our friend wasn't going to be here till the time we sat down, I thought about every scenario, fact pattern. Like I weigh those fact patterns in my head.
Is that tiring?
That's why oftentimes you need medication to make sure your brain slows down, you can stop being so okay. Because it's like running an analogy or a spreadsheet or like just constantly moving, and so my brain's constantly going. It's like Jesus. So weed becomes a really good support system because it's like at the end of the day, that's normally when I smoke is. Cuts everything out.
So you won't continue to think about those certain things. It breaks the pattern.
Oh, it slows it down.
Interesting. Yeah, so that's interesting because I would not have known that, and I wouldn't even have called what you were doing being anxious. I would not have called that. I just thought it was interesting that and now that you said that, before knowing that you were on the spectrum, I was like, why does it go down to the left? Like, why does it go down to the left?
There's a difference between anxious and being...
But I go up and to the right.
Anxious people are like typically going in all directions, and he's not. He's using this energy to channel towards more productive things.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was interesting that was that you were concerned about a scenario of what ifs, and I was stuck in this other gear, which was more like oblivious and naive to it because I wasn't running scenarios. I was like, I'm sure he's fine, but that's just because I'm an optimist and I always think that everything's going to be okay when there could be something obviously wrong.
Could be something terribly wrong.
And there should be probably because he was going to get back to one of you, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Which is, anyways, let's not get stuck in that quagmire.
Well, look, here's how bad it is right now. I'm thinking, is there a SD card in the camera? And luckily there is, but so that's how my brain started functioning.
Are you one of those did I leave the oven on guys or?
Well, I'll think so don't ever ask me to go on vacation because then I'll pack everything except the one thing I needed.
Yeah, well, we all do that.
Interesting.
Yeah,
you just deal, man.
Well, I do deal. I leave it like that's why I said you got to sometimes go oh fuck,
where's the Walmart?
Exactly.
Well, human beings, what they are, and maybe this will give you some relief, but we talk about this in medicine. Like if you travel or go someplace, the very first thing that you attend to are the things to which you were most addicted. So you're least likely to, if you're a smoker, the last thing you're going to do is not bring your cigarettes. If you're,
right.
If you're popping Valium or whatever, you're not leaving without that stuff. Now, you might forget your swimsuit for the hot tub or whatever. But no.
Right.
I forget my blood pressure I forgot all my medication last time we went to Palm Springs almost. I had to literally stop and get up in the middle of the night and I have to go get this stuff before I get on the plane. Well then what? Oh, you know what? I am actually addicted to my laptop and my notebooks because I never leave these. Ever. Even when I'm going on a bike ride. Both
of them are with you?
Well, that or a tablet. I'll have a tablet with me. So I'll write. So I physically still have to write things. I'm one of those people.
That's fine. That's a different way of processing.
Yeah, I have to physically write it, and then I'll retranscribe it into a laptop or tablet or something.
Yeah, no, I'm a voracious. I have to take notes.
Yeah.
It's for me. If I put it down on paper, that whole from beginning to end of doing it just seems to lock. Maybe not the detail of what's in the notes, but it locks the category in there. And I know, okay, I'm working on this. I've got to come back to A, B, C, D, and E. So I'm a hand
Gus,
guy.
I don't think Gus ever came back. Did I ever give Gus his graduation present? Your son. I was gonna give. So I always give journals.
I feel like there is one at the house.
So I gave him a journal, and because I always tell kids like never let anyone write your own story, and I always give them journals, and that's the reason why is so that they take the time while they're in college, at least the first year, to kind of chart out what they've done.
I should follow up with him on that.
Well, it doesn't matter, but I mean, for you, Robert, like, how did you chart out things that you were doing in life? Were you writing them down, or were you just kind of like, or do you just have one of those memories that's like a trap?
I don't know if I remember it was a trap, but I think that was kind of my go-to. And, there's something about my mind when I have peak experiences, they imprint pretty well.
Gotta get a little closer.
Oh, sorry, man.
That's what happens. Remember?
Yeah. No, when something big happens, I get a pretty good, mental transcript. And, I mean, like, I went to Laos and I couldn't begin to tell you a thing about getting there or back. But when in Laos, we would see something really cool, and that sticks with me.
Really?
So
I heard that that's the cradle of the culinary experience. Actually began in Laos, and then Vietnam. But that Laos is really where like the Anthony Bourdains and the ones that really wanted to seek out the.
They think it's some yeah. Well, it's kind of like going back in time a little bit. A friend of mine from Vietnam, and you can take this for what it's worth, said that Laos is the West Virginia of Asia.
Oh, Jesus. Are you serious? That's fucked up, dude.
And, Laos is...
That's fucked up.
Laos is two countries.
No, West Virginia is its own weird...
I know, it's its own standard, and
it is.
That takes a lot of balls to say that you're... Yeah, but at any rate, Laos is two countries. One is the low country, and I went to the mountains of Laos where...
Are they taller there?
No, the Hmong are short people. You would stop at a roadside stand and there'd be like rats hanging from the ceiling tied by the tail or something like that. And when I went to the market in the main town, it was like living hamsters and bat on a stick and
Not for me.
I don't know, all kinds of live, very sad critters. Bat on a stick,
I'm grabbing my pants right now.
Burnt bat hair is kind of a deterrent, at least for me.
Oh, so they don't actually like process it; they just cook it as is.
No, they just whack the poor guy and put him on a popsicle stick.
Oh,
and barbecue.
well, probably not then.
No,
I like mine prepared because I don't like even with chitlins and stuff like that. Like I'll try something.
I know it exists,
but I just don't. I don't necessarily like. I knew what chitlins were, like haggis. Like you're like, I'll eat this once, and I'll taste it, but after that, and anything boiled pretty much makes me nauseous anyway.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Bat was not on my list. They have like a big, huge basket of very sad-looking toads, and people would come by and point to the one they wanted, or dead songbirds, or it's like, But the other side of this town, which is one of the coolest places I've ever been to, called Luang Prabang on the Mekong, it was part of French Indochina. And when you go into town, the French left a legacy. You can get a perfect baguette. You get a perfect coffee, a croque monsieur, and it's, kind of odd, next to the noodle house or something.
How much meat can you get off of a songbird?
I don't know, but you're still stuck on that songbird thing, huh?
Dude, like he said, like a bunch of songbirds. Like what?
I don't know. There's a pile of them. I mean,
what do you do with a pile of songbirds?
First off, have you eaten quail before?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not much meat there either.
Yeah, it's like a half a bite per breath.
Yeah. Move on.
And the quail is like a monster compared to these.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not moving on. I want to know. I'm trying to figure out what about the songbird.
It's
you can't even answer because you don't know.
The culture is a lot of waste not, want not.
See,
that's what,
oh God, just kill them.
Eat it. No, you just got to eat what you got.
Yeah.
Okay. All
And,
right.
and you go to the fish thing and you go like, I've never seen an animal like that in my life. Whoa, that's crazy. What the fish would look like.
That would interest me. The animals would not. The fish would be okay.
With the sad little hamsters scurrying around the basket.
I would stop at the baguette and coffee, and I would say, "Hey, after you guys are done," and he's had a bat on a stick, come get me because I don't want to go near it.
Hey, Robert, I got a question.
Yeah.
How do you know this asshole?
What was that for?
Well, because it seems like, okay, so,
I don't want to go watch
Ebony and Ivory, you are blind as a bat, and I have sight. Like, you guys.
No, I don't think it's that weird.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you about the story in Cell Block D, but
What's so wrong with it? Like,
How do you guys know
his
each other?
kids and my son were the same age and went to a Spanish immersion.
Ah.
I was going to bring this up, but because he's got perspective and he walks it and talks it, people who want their kids to be like, involved in other culture will have their kids go to school and be involved in other culture. And that's how we met.
Yeah, I don't know if that means other cultures because now the immersion program has like no Spanish kids in it.
No, we're talking international school.
Oh, the
we're
international.
not talking
This is international
international
Okay,
school.
because I know the one that the one at one of the public schools are doing.
No, that's
that,
not
like
this.
it's like all the kids that speak Spanish in the Spanish immersion program aren't even Spanish, and there's no Spanish
Well, they
kids
don't
in it.
need to if they're Spanish.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm like, wait a second, wouldn't you want the Spanish kids to be in a class with kids that were only speaking Spanish so that you could help them? Or I don't know.
At the international school, if there was a Spanish kid, she or he was taking Mandarin. So
Yeah.
Touche.
And it was
My niece is taking.
It was next level. As far as the
Mandarin.
Northwest could get, it was the next level program. I mean, legitimately, the way those kids were cared for and the way they
Yeah.
were taught. And they had, you could have your first grade teacher could be from, Mexico. And then your
anywhere.
second teacher could be
Spain,
Colombian.
Guatemala.
Oh, my neighbor.
Chile.
Yeah, they're.
So you get different
she's German.
dialects.
She actually teaches at the international school. She's a German nationalist.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, interesting. At the International School of Portland?
International school. That's what she tells me. The
Okay,
kids-
so it must be the same
So
place.
so two of the or all three boys. So my neighbor has three boys. There's a lot there. Unpack later on. My neighbor has three boys, and so two of the three, or all three, originally went to international school. Now only the youngest one is still at the international school, immersed in another language.
Well, they did such a good job. One time, I went to Southern California and did the goddamn Disney shit. And finally one day,
How much did you spend?
so one day I said, we're going to go somewhere. So we went to Huntington Beach and it was okay. And there were some street vendors who were Spanish. My son walks up to them and they just they're taken aback. It's like, he looks as gringo as you can get.
Okay.
Curly blonde hair, blue eyes, blah, blah, blah. And they're just saying he has no accent,
He could be Chicano.
No, it was. I saw the same thing with the boys
And
when we
your
went to
boys,
Spain.
I'm sure it was the same thing.
People
yeah.
would be like, it would blow their minds. And the one thing that was nice as a positive was there was like that moment there where those people felt like maybe they had a little bit more faith in the Caucasian race because they were like, oh God, somebody out there is at least realizing that, introducing your kids to other cultures and having them learn to speak the language was important. And we got the same thing. That was the one thing that was interesting was you could have all kinds of barriers, but as soon as you had a kid that could speak another language, a lot of those barriers went away and people were willing to talk.
when I went to Panama and we were doing all that, I mean, he was the translator. It's like, get over here. What is...
Listen, for all the money I spent on you, kid, I need you to come over here and tell me what this guy's saying.
You and I hung out in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
I made no fucking hint that I had spoke no Spanish at all. I mean, Emmett got me to the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
He got me from the plane to the hotel, and he was in third grade when we went to Fergus's. So no, same thing. Like I would have been screwed without Emmett.
Yeah, I mean, the whole purpose of the international school for you or for me is like, I wanted my son to get exposed to different cultures,
Totally.
get different skills. It's not a virtue signaling, bullshit.
No.
But it was it kind of set him up to where I hoped his mind would be open to so many different things.
So do you? Okay, so you.
He's dating a he. So I mean, there you go. You won.
Hey, let's not put out the kids' stuff too much out here, because it's for me. I'm saying that it's almost like it's uncomfortably outing somebody without their like really known knowledge, and
She's a tomboy who calls herself. Sorry,
don't say that because
but it's what she says.
yeah, but
There's nothing wrong with it.
you're gonna start a fight that doesn't need to be started.
Okay, I mean, I don't
Listen, this is why
Some people
get
don't
canceled.
like doxing.
Yeah.
don't like what.
Doxing. It's basically, doxing is
I
illegal.
don't even know what it is.
I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
So doxing is technically a legal terminology in which you expose somebody by giving out their information, kind of like who they are, what they look like, where you can find them, and it's
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
the concept is that you'd be giving out information that would lead to this person potentially being harmed or damaged in some way, shape, or form.
Got it.
You know, it's like the most crude level is outing somebody who's gay.
Yeah.
But it's not just that.
Got it. Which that wasn't, just so you know.
No, it's not, but it's like.
But okay,
This is multi-layered because again, it's somebody's like.
There's a line. There's a line.
Well, some people like imagine some people are
Really,
comfortable telling
you've come
you.
far.
I've always known there's Robert. One thing I've always known there's the line. It's about like, can you touch it? Like, how far over can you go? And also, who set the line? That kind of a line I respect. I didn't know that line existed. Obviously, didn't know what doxing was. But I'm always going to question the line because I'm always going to question who drew it and why they drew it.
Yeah.
Always.
It's like if somebody like says, "Hey, I've come out to all my friends and my parents. I'm not out at work."
You wouldn't say anything at work.
Well, but that also tells everybody that it's
Like
more
the other
like-
friends wouldn't say anything at their work either. Is what I'm getting.
They wouldn't, but they also wouldn't tell anybody outside of the social group in which the person has disclosed that information.
You know,
to.
sometimes there's people who have, a somewhat unsavory background for whatever the reason, like were in prison and they got expunged or all that kind of stuff. And someone wants to nail them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You're definitely going through that.
you mean after they've done their time or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, like later, 5 years later, they're at work and they're doing something and they're a different person now and blah, blah, blah. And that just, some dickwad goes out and like spills the beans to everybody.
Yeah. We know someone like that. Matter of fact, yeah.
Got it.
You're one of the coaches.
Got it.
Yeah, like one of their friends is like one of their former friends. I don't know if it's very interesting that you brought that up because one of a friend of two former colleagues are experiencing that now. One decided to actually like do the same thing. Like, he went to jail, and it's like, yeah, bro. Anybody with Google could have looked that shit up. Like,
Okay, yes, you're right.
like if somebody really wants to, they're like, yeah, I could have Googled that. I could have found out somebody went to jail. It's like, that's not very.
It wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, and it wasn't necessary because then what happened was it planted a seed in other people's minds that would have caused them to go, oh,
Yeah,
maybe
it's usually not done with, the milk of,
I don't
modern
like
kindness.
I don't like that tactic. If that wasn't a lookout tactic, then I didn't like that.
Funny story.
Weird.
Funny story. I microdosed today. I've made it through this whole episode.
How do you feel?
I have been thinking about 3,000 things.
Have you
Is that a high number or a low number?
It might be relatively low.
Is it one of those things where like you grab one and you want to talk about it, but then like so many are coming at you that then another one takes its place?
No, it was just like it's more like I'm thinking about like more questions for Robert right now because I'm like, okay, so I'm vibing with his past experiences, his travel, his love of the outdoors and hunting and fishing, not really hunting, but more fisherman.
Yeah, I started out liking to fish, and what I've discovered was what I liked as much as the fishing is the places where we go. And so when I go fishing now, I'll go to some pretty obscure spots where the fishing may not be very good, but it's pretty and it's different, and because the whole experience is more fun. So that's me.
So I have a buddy. He was here a couple weeks ago, actually at the beginning of the month, and now he's in Iceland. Mm-hmm. And he and his father are looking at these waterfalls, and it is by far some of the most beautiful shots I've ever seen.
It's pretty intense, yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God. And then I started thinking, there's these lagoons in Iceland, like where people like go to like get like this healing and stuff.
Yeah, hot spring.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, Now I want to go.
Can't you?
Twice as much.
Can you not fly direct there? Wasn't there a direct flight during COVID, literally
Yeah,
from Portland
I
to
don't know.
Iceland? I think there was.
You have to go to Europe and then Reykjavik, but
I think there was I don't think I'm wrong. I think there was a crazy period of time where there was a.
what, like Horizon Airlines?
I don't know who it was, the carrier was, but like the reason why I say this is because former TIS parents, he was an architect. Their daughter Frances,
Oh yeah.
they went and did it, and they were like, "Yeah, it was like a direct flight or some crazy thing. It was super easy. The flight was super." They said the flight getting there super cheap. As soon as you're there, holy crap, everything's expensive.
Well, it's an island in the middle of
Right, like a cup of coffee's $12.
Yeah.
You know, soda's $16.
I mean,
But they said it was
But all the rocks you can eat free. You know.
right. They said that you couldn't beat the landscape.
yeah, I mean, it's untouched.
So top 2 places outside the United States that you've fished that you'd want to go back to.
Oh, that I fished.
We just went to.
Well, one I just went to was Argentina, and I've been to South America several times, but this one was different. I went to the very northern edge of Patagonia instead of the southern part where I'd gone before, and just totally different landscape. In fact, it looked like Oregon in a lot of places. I mean, it also looked like kind of strange moonscapes, and
So you're born and raised in Pacific Northwest?
no, I was born in South Louisiana.
Oh.
Kind of like my dad got a PhD and some postdocs, and he called himself an academic Okie because he kind of like bounced around and ended up at Kent State. I was on the campus the day of the riots,
Oh.
May 4, 1970, yeah. And then in 1972, my dad decided that raising a family of 5 on $13,000 a year as an assistant professor's salary was not so great. And he ended up learning of an opportunity at Hewlett-Packard in Palo Alto where his salary was like, 8 times what it was. So at a young age, moved to the West Coast.
Wow.
And then
Did he still own the property that he bought for you guys? Listen, look, I think I told you it's like as soon as you said it, I'm like, oh my God, if he moves there in like the mid to late 70s.
early 70s. Yeah, well, we bought a house.
My buddy brought his place out there for like 12 grand. It's worth like 2.8 million now. I'm like, it's the same fucking house.
Well, supply demand. We moved to a place called Los Gatos, which is the very southern tip of the Bay Area. And a good chunk of Los Gatos is, some of the priciest in California. But we lived in the slum, middle class suburbs.
Okay.
And I remember my parents paid $120 and 73. And then when we moved to Oregon 5 years later, it was like 900.
See? It's just...
And it wasn't much of a house. I mean...
Yeah, oh, trust me. It was like, I had a buddy who was in... just outside of Oakland, can't remember. Oh no, he was outside of Stanford, wherever that is down there, and he basically had a $1.5 million shotgun house. Mm-hmm. You know, what shotgun houses are. You just open the door, you can shoot through in the back, and it's all done at the same time. Yeah, that's what he had.
That's like Southern architecture. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, one of the things that I liked about what you were doing that was sending us through kind of chapters of interesting topic conversation is. So we've covered the Clint Eastwood story. We've covered the bear story. What's the next?
Hold on. He just told us that he was on campus and during the Kent riots.
There you go.
I mean, like you're missing every cool thing that just came out of his mouth right there. And all I thought was, how much was real estate back then? Because he's like, oh yeah, we sold the house for this, and then late 70s we were there for 5 years. I mean, from whenever his parents bought the house, from the time they sold it, it went up 9 times.
The Bay Area was just exploding.
It was ridiculous. That's why I was like, do they still own the property?
I wish we had cell phones back then to take photos, because I can remember like so many real estate people came by and dropped off their cards. I had a stack that was like 8 inches. I measured it. And
Are you serious?
yeah, there's so many people coming by.
Oh yeah, because that's what they used to have to do. They'd have to come by and be like, are you interested in selling? And then everyone
that's
just keep
the
dropping
days
off.
of, I don't even know if they had fax machines back then. But
Probably not.
Oh, you're probably. Oh my God. Well, if it was 80s.
No, this was 1978.
Yeah, this is
no
late
fax,
70s.
No fax machine.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so
The smoke signals of the phone. You know.
How old were you when Kent State went down?
I was 7 years old, and what I remember, I've got pretty good memories of that because sort of across from our street was the Kent State football, one of their practice fields. And so all the National Guard people came in with their armored vehicles and everything else, and we're just like
Assembling there?
yeah, assembling and doing stuff. And
Did you think that was pretty cool as a 7-year-old?
I don't remember, but I do remember one of my buddies lit off a couple bottle rockets over the National Guard. Next thing we know, there's troops pouring into the neighborhood.
oh wow.
Well, it was crazy because the governor of Ohio was, he was looking for a fight.
Yeah.
And
To show his muster.
yeah, I'm going to show these hippies what they're, you know, and, you know, I didn't hear the gunshots or anything else like that, but I do remember trying to go some places with my parents, and there would be, you know, you couldn't get to the store because there were riots, and you couldn't get to our friends for dinner because there were riots, and this was all after the shooting.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And if for anybody who doesn't know this, and if you're watching or this is your first time, the Kent State riots, basically the National Guard backed these young protesters into a corner. They couldn't actually flee anywhere. And
Well, it was actually the other way around.
oh, the
Yeah, because
protesters backed them.
there was such a mass of protesters that they, you know, the National Guard, and you know, earlier in the day they've been putting daisies in the gun barrels and all that kind of
I've
stuff.
seen those pictures.
Yeah, and then and what the National Guard did was they fired over the head of the protesters, and they hit like students going to math class or something.
Of course they did.
Yeah, instead of, hey, let's shoot a warning shot up, we're just going
Yeah.
to fire
Just even
right
dis-
over your head.
Just even discharging. That's just so.
It's so dumb.
It's so foolish.
stupid.
Look what
Yeah.
happened.
Well, that's why one of the reasons why, so I hate to equate this back to January 6th, but one reason why they didn't shoot at January 6th is because they were like, they didn't want to give people a reason to start a physical war, was because they were like, let's not shoot at them. Let's just spray them with mace. Hopefully that calms people down. You know, because normally, I mean, because...
Well, a good chunk of those folks were probably packing. And
Well, I mean, let's just be honest. You don't want to start a fight in D.C. because everyone's packing, I think. I really do. Look, there are unsaid words that happen. I know a lot of people in the neighborhood. In Baltimore, I think handguns are illegal, just like in New York. But most
Chicago,
yeah,
whatever.
but yeah, they're legal
Dallas,
there.
you know.
Yeah, like
oh, no, they're legal and everything's legal in Dallas. sorry.
yeah. But every place you're like, oh, they're illegal. And I'm like, yeah, but we have all these murders every year from handguns. So you clearly know nobody actually follows your fucking stupid rule. Everyone is packing. They just don't tell everybody. But yet these like two-way sicko fans are always like, no, you got to wear it on your hip. And I'm like, bro, everyone I know had a gun. Everyone I knew. Like, I'm from Baltimore, so everyone I knew had a gun. You see, we didn't tell everybody we had a gun.
Oh, it's just such duress to have to go out and carry all the time. That would just suck.
Well, the people with the tiny
I understand what you're saying. They have to because of fear, but I'm just saying that makes it sucks your whole evening blown because you got to carry your piece with you.
No, you don't tell people. You have it on you.
No, I know. I'm
for
just saying from
protection,
here.
and you just don't talk about it.
I know. I'm just saying from someone who's a gun owner, like it would just all of a sudden that just blows kind of that I'm making the choice to bring a gun to a social place, a gathering, because I'm concerned about my safety. That's all I'm getting at.
Well, normally we keep it in a trunk, but
Okay, but you know what I'm saying is just bringing a gun to places. It's like it sucks. So that's all I'm getting at. That's all I'm getting at. Just sucks you have to do it. Because nothing good comes after that. It just doesn't.
I don't know.
doesn't.
I've never had to discharge it at a person.
I've had 2 pointed at me. It's no fun.
I've never discharged at a person. It's just.
I just don't think it's just.
I once had a guy pull a gun, and I was like, "You better not miss," and he eventually walked away because he's like, he ain't ever dealt with crazy.
Yeah, that's where you win.
Well, give you a better shot than like, don't hurt me. You know?
Yeah, like don't miss.
Yeah, it's just.
Well, I'm good. So.
I'm with you. I'm just saying, it sucks that we're in this community where that's happening, and it's happening in a lot of places. And I believe in people's right to own firearms, but my God, I think that it's so serious that we should be certified and registered, and you'd have to pay a fee every fucking year to have it, almost like a car, because of what it can do when it's pointed at a human. I mean, the wounds are not pretty, especially when they're coming out of high-powered rifles. And I have an AR-15, and I can't imagine ever shooting somebody with it, an actual live person, not me.
Why would I want to shoot somebody with an AR?
I think a lot of guys fantasize about this.
You want to kill them and be damn sure about it.
Like I don't want to kill people.
No.
Like my goal is never to be honest.
Most people are in that boat. There's some people who,
I don't want.
They like it,
but why kill? Like to be honest with you, I'd rather maim you and fuck you up for like life than actually.
Yeah, I think you'd be okay. I think the universe would not punish you for that. I think if you take a life, that's like the one that you're not supposed to. That's my own personal belief. I think that's the one you're not supposed to break. I think that's not for us.
Thou shalt not kill?
Yeah, I just think that's the one. The rest of them. That's me. That's just me personally.
I don't know. I think it's a spectrum.
Is it?
I think
if you take out their kneecaps, they're going to be so miserable for life.
Yeah.
As opposed to like you're taking a, crazy or whatever, and just take them out. I don't know.
There are some people who should not exist in this earth, but unfortunately they seem to live forever. Like you notice that, like they always say, only the good die young. And you're like, yeah, but the evil just fucking linger around. It's like, when will these? Like, what was the guy who was it Redstone or whatever? He had like 4 heart transplants. I was like, what?
Oh, this is a guy who was like a total alcoholic and ate like shit, but just had the money to keep getting new hearts.
Yeah, but he was also like evil. Like, it's like, dude, you shouldn't be on any transplant list. Like, you literally fucked up the other 2. How are you? And he was like 90.
Money, right?
I think they paid the family or something. Like they got the heart from some guy.
What do you like? Pop somebody like just take their brain out, but they were still alive, so he can get his heart.
I mean, anything is possible.
How rich was this guy? Is he a billionaire?
Oh, he was quite well off. I think he was a billionaire, but it was just like he was like on his.
That's a lot of hearts.
Yeah,
there's a list, right, of people waiting, and he just happens to always get one that fits his chambers.
Yeah, well, at a certain point, I'm pretty sure, like after the first 2, you're good.
2.
That's amazing for the body to even be able to open up that many times, and like think about it. Like, what's the recovery on an open heart surgery?
Sucks.
Is it 6 months or longer?
Oh, it depends on a lot of things. I mean, how sick you were.
Okay, right.
Before
the spectrum.
What was it?
Got it. Okay.
What did you become septic afterwards?
Well, it's sort of a maxim that when you undergo surgery, if you're really really healthy to start with, you got a better shot at it. And if you're physiologically, in a deep well, then it's going to take a while. I mean,
And are people usually in bad enough shape that they can't wait for the time to try and get themselves in better shape to actually survive surgery? Or is that not how we do it here?
A number of factors might have gotten them into that spot in the first place.
Okay.
Right? And then there's some people who they only survived because they were too well. They were well enough to actually fight the problem, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's why they look at certain demographics and they're like, hey, you might want to get your affairs in order.
There's a big thing.
Do blacks have a harder time in surgery, come out of surgery without infection than whites? Or is there like a disparity in care or post-op?
Well, there's always disparity in care, but mostly the things that impact, African American communities are like weight, asthma, diabetes. Some people have sickle cell, or sickle cell anemia. That there's issues with that. Only 2 populations actually carry that: blacks and Jews. Which is one reason why I always tell people, I'm like, well, me and Jewish people are really, really close.
You must be. You have to be. You're sharing some part of the
I think
heredity.
Arab populations is really what it says. Arab populations.
Semitic.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we did Kent State. Is there anything from Kent State you wanted to get more from?
No, man. Like, look, to be honest with you, we're at an hour here, and I'm pretty sure our viewers are going to be like, "What the?" But no, this has just been a really cool dialogue, Robert. I mean,
well, thanks for having me.
I really expected this to be like a Mark situation because Mark goes all over the place.
So I mean, just got such thick skin.
No,
Jesus
you don't.
Christ.
Like, you literally come here and you're like, oh man, like the you start talking about bail reform or something, breaking into jails or robbing a bank, and I was like, what the?
No, bail reform.
No, you're talking about robbing a bank.
He made a comment that stuck to me. Like, if you were a criminal, it would be the same thing. And I just happened to come up with a metaphor in my mind, which is you have to go in with something with a plan, but you're going into an area where you don't know what you're going into. And that's all I was doing was just.
Did you watch the Pink Panther?
I did.
I actually suggested watching the entire. I think there's 5 movies.
Yeah, they kind of got a little.
The last one.
Towards the end,
The last one wasn't good, but the first couple were pretty.
Well, the first ones were good. The last ones were like, I mean, Peter Sellers was dead in the last one, and they still put it out. It was like, hey, he's dead. Let's just put out this tub of shit.
Yeah. Well, I think he became so onerous to the character at the end that he was really difficult to deal with in the filming because that pretty much pigeonholed him as an actor.
Well, one of his longtime girlfriends said that as Peter Sellers got older, he would always be in character, so you never knew when it was Peter. You never knew. He just couldn't get out of character. And,
that would be weird.
And because they said he was such a chameleon. I mean, the guy just could turn on a dime and assume another personality. And
I worked on a film in Iowa with David Lynch called The Straight Story. It was the only G-rated
David Lynch
movie that he ever made, and it was produced by Walt Disney, which is like, what, if you know David Lynch. And
if you know Walt Disney films, they do not work with people who are not in there.
Well, they never would have produced Eraserhead, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, there you go. So it was an interesting relationship. So one of the characters in the movie is the developmentally delayed daughter of the main character. And that developmentally delayed daughter is going to be played by Sissy Spacek. So the day before principal shooting, we all have like a big dinner. All the keys are there. So I get invited to go, and I meet Sissy for the first time, and it's fucking pretty cool, and she's cool.
Speed the story up.
And then we have dinner, and then the next day we're at set, and it's like 11 o'clock, and I haven't seen anybody come out of the honey wagons or anything, and all of a sudden the door opens up, and it's Sissy Spacek, but she doesn't look like Sissy Spacek. Something's fucking wrong. And she goes, Mark, could you please give me my cigarettes? And I fucking freaked out, dude. I walked away. I got on the radio. I go, oh my God, I think there's something wrong with Sissy. Like, I can't deal with this. I didn't want to be anywhere apart. She was in character.
Oh.
And I didn't, no one told Mark.
All right.
And I was not ready for that.
Well, Akil, I don't know the polite way to say this, but I really need to go to the restroom.
And with that, thank you for joining us here on the Sunday Funday Podcast. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. Good about it. Bathroom's over here to your right.
That's great.
All right.